It has become so ubiquitous that living with children automatically means a chaotic, overwhelmed, almost like frenzied and rushed existence. You're always tired, you're always overwhelmed, you're always stressed, you're always rushed. If you have felt that way or you've absorbed the cultural narrative that tells you that, I want to invite you into a different way of life with kids. In this video, I want to share some shifts that I've made over the last 4 years that have not just made my life as a mom, as a parent, so much more enjoyable, but has led to a more regulated and happy kid because children mirror us. Here are 5 simple shifts that quite literally changed everything for not just me as a parent, but for my child as well. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jess, and I love helping women to radically slow down and simplify their life to make room for more joy. The first shift I made was from someone that constantly managed stuff to someone that intentionally curated less. So my mom tells this story of when she was pregnant with me. I'm 2 of 4 kids. That when she found out it was a girl, she was so excited that by the time I arrived, she not only had an entire closet full of baby girl clothes, but also an additional clothing rack full of baby girl clothes. And she spent a lot of her days when I was little changing me into different outfits and basically having photo shoots. It's why my baby book is 10 times bigger than any of my siblings. Now, to each their own, that made my mom so happy. I think that at least where I live in the West, it is so normalized that becoming a parent means getting a ton of kids stuff. When moms are pregnant here, we don't have any kind of ceremony like initiating them into motherhood. We don't have deep conversations about shedding your maiden self and stepping into motherhood or the emotional process they're undergoing. We have baby showers that always includes a lot of gifts and opening tons of baby stuff. Now, it's beautiful to receive gifts that you actually need. It's a wonderful act of service. We ended up with way more stuff than we needed. And that was when I started to slowly learn that whether it's my stuff, her stuff, kids' clothes, kids' toys, whatever it is, having more does not lead to an ease of life like we've been kind of sold. For me, it led to feelings of chaos, constantly feeling like I could never have a calm and clean environment, and always like I was behind. I don't think there's anything wrong with having things that your child enjoys and really loves. For me, I have noticed a distinct difference though in the way she plays, in her nervous system, and how regulated she is when she actually has less options. And the options she does have are ones that cater more towards her creativity. And the same thing goes with clothes. I've talked about this before. I have a capsule wardrobe for my kid. She is able to put her own laundry away. She is able to pick out her own clothes, and it's simple, and I don't have to think about it. The second shift that we made as a family was shifting from the productivity guilt to incorporating rest as an intentional built-in rhythm of our life as a family. If you're anything like me, you came into motherhood as a classic overachiever, okay? Or simply just you're raised in a culture that glorifies hustling and doing more. Work is good. Work is good. We were made to work. We were made to cultivate. You cannot have good and valuable work that allows us to pour into our families without the other side of the coin, which is enriching rest. And if you, either you're thinking this right now or you've said it before, ever had the thought, I never get a break, or moms don't get to rest, I want to invite you into something different. So just for a moment, think that there is another way of existing and walking through the world that doesn't include that narrative. I had to realize that though the act of caring for your family is an ongoing process, right? There's not like a clock in, clock out. That narrative that moms don't get rest, that you don't ever get to take a break, I picked up from women growing up, and it was a narrative that was not true, and I was holding on to, and it was distinctly not serving me. It was causing bitterness and resentment. It can look different to different families, but rest is not optional. We are sick, we're burnt out, we're irritable. For women, our hormones are whack. We struggle with all of these issues. Simply, I believe one of the main reasons because we have rejected one of the most fundamental needs of our mind, body, and spirit. and that is rest. I've shared ad nauseum how my family and I started incorporating an official Sabbath. And John Mark Comer has a quote that I really love about this. I want to read it. Sabbath, he says, is meant to mitigate against the chronic restlessness of our condition and culture and tap into Jesus's rest that is available for our souls. It's a day or sometimes half a day. Ours is on the weekend, but depending on people's schedules, it might be different, where we intentionally rest. Now, this doesn't just mean sleeping. It means doing things that pour into us as a family. Very limited technology. Right now, our favorite thing to do is to pack up and go to the beach for the day. I don't like to do cooking. I don't like to do a lot of housework on Sabbath days. Usually I'm packing like sandwiches, yogurt parfaits. I pack these Little Spoon Yogos for my daughter, actually, and my husband. My husband's obsessed with them too. I've shared about Little Spoon before. They're really cool. They're on a mission to make nourishing food for children and make parents' lives more convenient. They make snack foods and even ready-made meals for babies up to young children. And they deliver everything to your door. Little Spoon was the first and only kids and baby food company to set strict limits on over 500 toxins that they will not allow in their food. Like I said, my daughter's absolute favorites are the Yogos. They're literally just organic Greek yogurt, organic fruits and vegetables, and vanilla and probiotics. That's it. There's no gums, there's no additives, there's no seed oil. And the puffs are really nice for travel. We just traveled to the West Coast again for my cousin's wedding, and we brought Little Spoon snacks the whole flight. They are tested for heavy metals, pesticides, and they have no seed oils in them. If you want to check them out, you think they would serve you in your effort to simplify your life with kids like it has done for us, you can use my code JessicaR30 to get 30% off of your first order. Thank you, Little Spoon, for sponsoring today's video. Very fitting, as my family's obsessed with them. The third shift I made that was extremely helpful was moving from feeling like I had to entertain my child to incorporating them in my day-to-day life and activities. I cannot be the only one who thought that when I became a mom, like, your job is to be your baby's and your children's main source of stimulation. Like, I should be talking to her all the time so that she would talk and learn to talk. And if I don't, they won't be successful. They won't feel like I love them. They won't feel, all of these fears that we have in our brain. And around the time my daughter was 1, I read this book called Hunt, Gather, Parent. Highly recommend it. And it's actually written by a journalist. And in it, she travels to, I think she lists 4 different areas around the world that she goes and she observes their parenting styles. And these are places that are known to have children that are very capable, very cooperative, very helpful. And again, something she noticed, whether it was parts of Mexico to Africa to Alaska, was the desegregation of children in these communities. Meaning kids are actively involved in the day-to-day happenings of adult life. They don't have this massive separation like, at least in the West, we do, where it's kid life and adult life. They are in the community and the household. So whether that's cleaning, cooking, being around the adults as they're socializing. Now contrast that to, at least my observation of where I live in the United States, we don't integrate them. And I think this is evident by a lot of the pressure that moms feel when they go to the grocery store, when they go to a restaurant, to have perfectly behaved kids. It's this feeling of if kids are gonna be where other people are gonna be, they can't act like kids. We can't really have this integrated society. And I think that that's really interesting because that pressure is not present in a lot of other cultures. It wasn't until I had my own child that I saw firsthand how innate it is in her to want to be involved in those everyday things, to want to learn to cook, to want to help me clean. They don't differentiate between play and work. And so at a young age when, to be honest, she's not helpful because she's 2, teaching her and taking the time to take her along with me to do laundry, to let her cook with me whenever she wanted, to give her jobs that were within her developmental capacity. It is more work on the front end because you do deal with more spills and things take longer. It freed up my mental burden so much to feel like, instead of having to entertain her and do kid things all the time and sit with her and do baby toys and try to do all this stuff, and then when she was sleeping, that's when I could do my mom chores. I started just saying, okay, this is what we're gonna do today. Mommy has to cook this, and we gotta prep dinner, and we gotta do laundry, and then maybe we'll go on a walk, and to see how much she thrived being a part of that not just because she enjoyed it, but because innately with kids, they want to contribute to their family and they want to be a part of a family unit. And when I was not allowing her to, I was actually really stealing that value from her. I was stealing that opportunity for her to contribute and feel accomplished and capable in that way. And so the way I operate now is whenever I do things, it's like not even a question to her if she's gonna come and help me. She'll just bring up her chair and she'll see me starting breakfast and she'll ask to crack an egg or whatever. And then if she doesn't feel like it and she's in her own activity and she's coloring, that's great. She's in flow. But feeling the freedom as a mom to not have to entertain my kid all the time and instead to bring them along and to teach them all the wonderful things about mundane life and build that capability in them has been very freeing for me. The fourth shift I made that was monumental in literally everything, just everything, was choosing sunshine over screens. Now, you might think that this shift has to do with kids. I'm actually talking about parents. If I'm honest with myself and I ask myself what kind of parent I am, how I enjoy my day, what kind of woman I am when I spend a lot of time on my screen, consuming a lot of media, or when I was on Instagram scrolling, versus when I spend time outside, it's not even a question. It's not even a question of which one I would rather be. Even when I was on social media, I was trying to use it to be like a good mom. Like most of the accounts that I followed were like developmental psychologists or people talking about the best first baby foods for this. And ultimately, what I noticed in myself was that when I was regularly engaging with intaking so much media, it made me a more irritable, stressed out mom because it was like every day I had a room full of 50 people telling me how I was supposed to be parenting. And no matter what I did, it never measured up. And these accounts are not the problem necessarily. These are people that are trying to be helpful and in its own bite-sized piece would be helpful. But the truth is that with social media, the way that we consume media is we don't take bite-sized pieces. And so for me, regularly being on social media, even now I'm on YouTube and I don't spend that much time on YouTube. But if I were to, because I know you can scroll on anything, it would not produce in me a feeling of peace, a feeling of being able to exemplify grace and forgiveness in my relationship with my daughter, patience. It just made me feel stressed out. And that impacted her. When I was regularly consuming, even in my efforts to be the perfect mom and a good mom, what spilled out actually was damaging to her and I. If you need a permission slip, not that you do need a permission slip, but reminding yourself that you have very similar needs to your toddler. You need to get outside. You need to play. You need to eat. You need to rest. And I think as parents, we don't recognize that. We'll make sure our kids get that, but we won't give it to ourselves. The last shift I made, I could talk so much about this, but I'm gonna try to be succinct. I shifted from trying to be the perfect mom to instead being a present mom. I've mentioned my journey with perfectionism. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same place. You come from a place where you struggle with perfectionism. You struggle with putting your value in things that we never really should have ever been putting our value in. A lot of my early motherhood was categorized by this intense burden that I was not doing enough and that I just kept making mistakes. And I remember like sitting and having conversations with my husband where I said, I feel like I can't even talk about God's grace or freedom in Christ because it's something I logically know, but it feels so far from where I am. And I feel so burdened by this crushing weight of not being a good enough mom. And it took me a while to realize that I don't want my daughter to just have the appearance of a mom who loves and supports her and believes what she says when she talks about God's love and freedom in Christ. I don't want just the appearance of someone that does that. I want to embody it. And here's the thing that is really true. And we can all probably talk about our childhoods and get really deep and admit that what our parents show us, that's what lands way more than what they're verbally trying to teach us. And so I didn't want to raise her as a young girl where I'm trying to teach her to be gracious with herself and to walk in her identity as God's child, but then her watching me deal with myself was the complete opposite. And I thought, well, I could just crush myself into a place where I'm more gracious with myself, which sounds so funny, right? But that's what our mind does. We just think, oh, I'll just work harder, I'll just do more. What it actually was a deep slowing down and a deep unraveling, like almost like onion, like peeling off that which was blocking me from being able to receive God's grace that was always available to me. I think I love talking about slow living. It is trending now, which I personally love, but like anything that's trending, it can be confusing about like what it is or what it entails. And for me personally, getting into slow living was literally just starting to move at a pace that felt human, starting to move at a pace that was in line with how I was designed to live. And when I did that, that's when I started seeing all these things shift and click into place, because I had space and time to rest with the Lord and to hear Him. I had space and time to sit with myself and to notice things about the way that I was making choices, like how I was operating that was not serving me or my family. Like all of that magic came when I simplified and slowed down. I think that that's why I love talking about it, because enacting simple shifts, you don't even realize the fruit that will come from it. You don't even realize the effects it will have on your life until you do it. I hope these shifts were encouraging for you. Hang out with me in the comments. Let me know where you're at. I love hearing your stories and what you when you share your heart in the comments. It really is incredible. It's such an honor for me to read women's stories in the comments. So thank you for being here. I will see you in the next video, and have an amazing week.